The topic is, is understanding user needs, and in particular, using the jobs to be done framework. So, I mean, we know there are many frameworks. Like if you Google product frameworks, and like if they never reach 1,000, I'll be shocked. There are so many, but I think what makes a lot of these frameworks valuable and maybe even like validated is seeing how our peers have used them, and them talking about how they use them and the success they've achieved with them. So I like the jobs to be done framework in particular for certain circumstances, and I'm going to walk you through how I use the jobs to be done framework, and I mean how it's supposed to be used, but sometimes we depart from how it's supposed to be used based on our own challenges in Africa. Sometimes are different from the outside of the continent, right? So before that, I don't know, can we do like a little bit of introduction? So I know that I'm actually talking to human beings, I'm not talking to AI. So my name is Iwa. I lead customer research at Moniepoint. Yes, I do research. What are some of the challenges I face with the research? So there's a lot. When there are a lot of questions, when there are a lot of unanswered questions in an organization, it's hard to kind of like prioritize what's important for us to be looking into, and when, like, should we be looking into this now? And that, in order to be able to do that, it requires a lot of like listening. So even for me, aside from like researching customers, I have to research my organization, I have to research my executives and like other team leads. What's important to them? And these are some of the challenges that I face when trying to do research. But I'd like if like maybe two or three people could just introduce themselves, their roles, and do they do research, and maybe what one challenge that they typically face before we get into it.
I'm
Should
not,
I
All right.
go.
Oh,
I'm not allowed to go because I know you might not pick me. Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Please, yes, please, Princess.
Iwalala is my colleague, guys. And
Yes.
yeah, Moniepoint is very big on research. So of course I do research almost every week. I'm a product manager. My name is Princess. Some of the challenges that I face. So first of all, I think sometimes it's around recruitment, to make sure. I know, Iwalala, there was one time I even had to reach out to you to help me. It's sometimes it's a lot. You know what you want to do, but you need to really stream it down to make sure you're talking to the right people. So you can't just say, oh, the users, which specific people. That brainstorming, trying to even get people like stakeholder buying, like these are the specific people we need to talk to. So that back and forth, sometimes it can take like a week even, just to do that. And sometimes they'll say, oh, you need to do this within this timeline. And just the recruitment has taken up the full timeline you were supposed to use to do the research. So I think that's the biggest one for me right now. Let me allow other people speak.
all right. Can I go?
Okay, Emmanuel, yes, please.
All right. So my name is Emmanuel Naomi. So currently, although I don't really work as a product manager per se, I work as a project manager. So talking about the conversation we're having before you got introduced, I just remembered something now, which is a very big challenge for me. So in the past, I worked on a project for like an NPC. So and the project was just basically they were trying to use tech to actually curb the theft of crude oil. So it was a nice project, a nice sort of build, but one of the major problem we had was nobody was willing to make use of it. And since it involves a lot of government bureaucracy, red tape and all, we couldn't do much. It was nice, but no one was willing to make use of it. And as a product manager, we're proud of what we worked done. But since nobody was making use of it, we couldn't get like a good validation for what we've done. So it was more like a pirate tree. We like what we did, but there was no feedback on what we did.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think these are challenges that we can all relate with. Can I ask one more person? I don't know why my spirit is telling me to go for someone who I'm not sure if I'll pronounce their name correctly, but Insi Song. Your name just looks so beautiful. So do you mind going and telling us what you do? Do you do research, and what are some challenges you face?
Okay. Good evening. Good evening.
Did I get the
everybody.
pronunciation of your name right?
Yeah, you tried. So you can call me TC for sure.
Insi, okay. Nice to meet you.
So I like to meet you too. So I am a product manager, and then yes, I work with research. I conduct research, legal research, market research, and business research. So one of the challenge I have when it has to do with research is similar to what research shows: recruitment, getting people buying, getting researchers buying, getting people to fill the survey. You might share a survey for months, and then you just be sharing to cricket. You will definitely have probably only 10 people or only 5 people fill, and you can't even get enough insight from that. So that's a major challenge that I face when it has to do with research. You are muted. You are muted. So I
Yeah,
can't hear
that's
you.
one allow your music.
I would say thank you so much for sharing and say hello to your baby for me. I think your baby wanted to contribute. But yes, all the challenges that we you shared are like the typical challenges that we all face. And we're going to be talking about how we can use the jobs to be, I mean, jobs we don't will not help us with recruitment. Sorry, that one is a research operations problem. But things like identifying what the customers' needs are, what we should be prioritizing. How do I convince my Oga that it's not by what you say we should do, but what the customers actually need that we should be doing, right? So by the end of this session, you'll be learning all of these things that are stated here. How can we go from, oh, who are we building for? Just, and that's not to say that things on this side, that's the what and the who, are not important. But how can we go from those things that are like the foundational level to the things that would now take us further? So how can we go from understanding, from saying, oh, what are we building or who are we building? Those are more like foundational starter points. Instead, how can we go into the why? Because when you understand the why, then the other things become easier. How can we go into the how? Because when we know why we're doing something, and of course we have the technical capability, then we know how we're going to do it. So it will be going through that. We'll be looking at what a job statement looks like. That's from the actual framework of jobs to be done. We're looking at what research method should we be utilizing. We're looking at understanding what a job is in particular, and then things like the 4 forces of progress that help us understand why a customer would want to switch from one product to another. And I'll explain why it's important for us to answer that question. And finally, we'll be looking at the layers of jobs to be done, which is the functional, emotional, and social. Okay, so this is one of my favorite quotes. And if you've attended any like place where I've spoken, webinar, conference, you probably have seen this before. But it's basically saying that to find ideas, you need to find problems. To find problems, we need to talk to people, right? And for those who don't know, Julie Jo, she used to be at Facebook. She's a founder. She always posts like on social media, like I think on Twitter in particular. So I follow her. You probably follow her as well. So before we get into the weeds, right, I think it's important for us to establish when we should actually be using jobs to be done. So then we can now be looking at the actual framework and, the things around it. So when, because we all face many circumstances. So you talked about, how we face difficulties with recruiting. We talked about how we face difficulties with knowing what to do. We talked about how do we push back when our Oga, that was before the actual call started, when our Oga says this is what we should be doing, how do I push back? So there are so many circumstances we face, but for jobs to be done in particular, these are some of the circumstances where it would really help you to use this framework. So if you're entering a new market or your organization is trying to enter a new product category, so maybe you have been building only health tech and now you're considering, oh, should we do fintech or something, or should we integrate payments, right? So you probably use this framework. And if you're talking about, oh, we have so many features or we have so many customer requests, our customer success team wants to finish us, our roadmap is looking unending, right? Where do we actually start from? Now, I know there are those like, 2x2 matrices that help with prioritization, but we want to go beyond just, okay, taking the feedback and like moving forward with it. So I want to be able to say, these are the needs that are most important and paramount to our users. And as a result, we should efficiently like prioritize doing these things. We also would apply the jobs to be done framework when people have collected money, like funding or something, and you're like, no, see, we want to do something disruptive. We want to scatter the market. We want to scatter everywhere. Like, we're not just doing what everybody else has done. Then you'll be like, okay, let me find out what is currently on ground. So yes, you probably would have done like a competitive analysis and all that, but it's not just about looking at what features, maybe looking at a list of features and saying, oh, all these people have all these features, we can just add 2 more. It's actually about saying, okay, how can we identify that thing that if we do it, the customers are leaving these existing products and switching to us? And another area where I find jobs to be done, the use of the framework very exciting is for marketing and product messaging. I mean, all of us know that you can go and build the most amazing products. If nobody sees it, it's you that will use your products by yourself. So in working with your marketing, your product marketing or brand marketing, however it is in your organization, what you're communicating to customers is not, oh, we have all these features and this our other brand doesn't have all these features. You need to be able to communicate to the customer the progress or the thing that they will achieve based on using your product that they won't achieve if they use another product. So this framework helps us do that as well. I can also share the slides after this. I'm speaking, I think I speak very fast generally, but I'm trying to even speak faster so that I go through all the slides quickly. Disclaimer, I worked on the slides last night in the middle of the night. So if you see any background, just correct me, I'll change it. Bear with me. But I've gone through it a couple of times, so I'm hoping that nothing has, I haven't missed anything. So when will you not, or when would I advise that you should not be using jobs to be done framework, right? When you're trying to like just improve some tactical like UX things, maybe, oh, we are trying to reduce, currently this flow takes 5 steps and we have analyzed it and see that, oh, a lot of customers drop off at the 4th screen or something. And we're like, okay, how can we make these things 3 screens or less? That one, you don't need to know. You already know the job the customer wants to do. You already know what the customer is trying to achieve. It's already established. Here, you're just trying to say, okay, let's make it easier for the customer to do this based on what you've already built. In that instance, you don't particularly need the jobs to be done framework. Bear in mind, these are broad statements I'm making. There are some circumstances where it might still be valuable. And of course, another one is like a circumstance where it is not about the needs of the customer. So if you work in fintech, health tech, or any like highly regulated area, you know that you can be sleeping one day, you wake up 4 a.m. and you see a directive from your regulator. Now so it be. So when that happens, you're not going to be asking customer, as you know, the job here is not the customer's need. The job here is the job of meeting the requirements so that people are not slammed with a hefty fine. So in that instance, you don't particularly need the jobs to be done framework. Okay, so I was talking about how we need to go from that side of like who and what to why. So like getting to the why. And me as a researcher, my favorite question is why. Anyone who has children know that they literally why is like the most nagging and bugging question. But if you think about it like from the perspective of a child, they're asking why because they actually don't know. And that's kind of the situation you need to put yourself in, or we need to put ourselves in, right? Why do people take certain actions that they do? Why do they behave in a certain way? Once we understand the why, it's much easier to be able to predict what they might do next, as opposed to if we're just asking them and saying, okay, what do you want? We don't get to understand them. It's just like if you meet someone, or if, I don't know, you have a boyfriend, and your boyfriend says, oh, he wants you to be doing this. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that's how men behave. Your boyfriend will say, oh, he wants this. Meanwhile, maybe he'll say, oh, he wants you to be covering your hair and dressing decently. You will not see that the person is cheating on you with is wearing short skirts and her breast is outside. It doesn't make sense, right? So you need to understand the underlying need, and if you're able to meet the underlying need, right, then you're able to achieve success in your product as well. Okay, so I try to put in a little bit of like small activities here, and I would like maybe 1 or 2 people to just contribute. So you've been hearing me saying job, and in the jobs to be done framework, there is a concept called the job, which I will still explain. So the why is the job that the customer is trying to get done. So you are trying to understand the customer or the needs of a customer, and you're looking at why they are doing certain things they are doing, right? So you've established that that's what's going to help you be able to figure out what your solution will look like, right? So imagine you have a customer that buys a phone or that doesn't buy a phone, right? What am I saying? Sorry, I told you I worked on these slides last night. Okay, a customer that buys a phone. Now, to you as the product manager, you're thinking, okay, my customer buys a phone, and you look at it and you've captured it, and to you, that determines success, right? But the jobs to be done framework helps us understand that the customer isn't just buying a phone. They're not just buying a device. They are trying to satisfy a need. And there's a term that this framework uses a lot. So if you notice, I'm not really trying to get into the formalities of the framework too much, because I think sticking to it too, there isn't enough time, and if I try and go down that path, we won't actually get like actionable advice or we won't be able to like move forward with something actionable from this, right? But basically in the framework, a customer hires something. Now they use the term hire because hire denotes that they can actually fire. So they are not holding on to your product just because they have it or they bought it. They hire it to satisfy a need, and when it doesn't satisfy that need, they are firing it. Okay, so I want to hear from you. The framework basically explains that in this circumstance where a customer, purchases a phone, like a mobile phone, right? It goes beyond just that surface level fact. So why do we think that a customer purchases a phone beyond just the surface level? Why do you think a customer hires a device? Would somebody like to try? Like, what needs do you think they are trying to achieve or trying to meet, or what do you think they're trying to achieve when they get a phone? So maybe someone who's never had a phone before purchases a phone. Should I pick someone? Let me. Yeah, please go ahead. NC.
Okay, I think for a user who has never had a cell phone, and then the person who knows right to get a phone, to get a device, I think the major pain point there is the pain point of communication. So they want to be able to communicate with probably family, with loved ones, to relate information on time. So I think communication is the reason why they want to get a cell phone or any device that can help
Absolutely.
them get that done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Would someone else like to try? Because we know that there are many reasons why someone might. Martha, please go ahead.
Yeah, so in addition to what Insi said, another pain point could be connection to the global world, to know what's going on, to get information from the net.
Absolutely. I mean, I know there are smart people in this community, so you guys hit the nail on the head. So yes, they're not just buying a phone, they're actually trying to use it to satisfy a need. Taiwo, do you want to go ahead? Taiwo, you can go ahead. You're muted.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. For me, I would say, especially for cameras, people want to take pictures. That's one reason why people select the type of brand that they go with, and especially for pictures, getting quality pictures. That's another feature that makes them select.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we want to probably look at that, the underlying need might be, because I want to show off on social media with my new pictures. I want to look finer than what I think I look like in real life. So yes, basically the framework talks about digging deeper beyond, what we're seeing on the surface level. And so that brings me to this. So it was very interesting when I joined the call. I think you guys are already talking about how if you ask customers what they want and you go and build it, then you bring it to them, the next thing you'll be hearing, did you did not do what I said I wanted? That is very normal. And that's because we are listening to what they say as opposed to what they do. And I made the analogy of it's like a child. If you ask a child what do they want to make them happy, they're probably going to say, give me loads of ice cream every day. I don't know, give me a lot of money, let me go and, I don't know, spend it, buy games and whatever. Or yeah, leave me, let me watch YouTube all day, right? But at the end of the day, as the child's parents, you see that, the child gets overweight, the child probably develops some health conditions, then from staying inside all day, the child is not like happy and active, the child is depressed. At the end of the day, the child will say you did not give them a great childhood. Meanwhile, you give them every single thing they asked for. So a lot of the times, it's not about listening to what the people are asking for or saying. And when I say people in this circumstance, I'm saying purely customers. I'm not saying people on your other teams who have more context, right? So if you have a list of requests from customers, I will go into why that might not be the best way to go and why using the job speed on framework would help you meet needs of customers better. Okay, so here, another, I don't know, is it kind of trite quote from Steve Jobs that says it's really hard to design products by focus groups. So a focus group is where you gather a couple of people who are maybe your customers or your prospective customers. You talk to them, ask them questions, and in focus groups, you typically focus on asking attitudinal questions. So focus groups are typically built to hear what people think about a certain topic, right? So here he says a lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them, right? So if we're saying, okay, we shouldn't just be listening to every single thing that a customer is saying. I mean, well, I mean, you should listen, you won't cut them off. But after you say, oh, thank you, amazing. This is, what we've done. And because you've gone through this framework and you've had this session with me and you've got this framework and you're able to determine what their needs are, I'm very sure you build a solution that they did not even know that they needed, right? So how do we discover the customers why? I have a question. Maybe just one or two people can answer this. How do all these organizations, NASA, CDC, History Channel, National Geographic, CNN, how do they learn about like human behavior, animal behavior, and planets? You can't talk to an animal, right? You can't talk to a planet. You can't say, planet, how cold are you? Planet, how far are you from the earth? You can't say, animal, why did you bite that man's leg? You can't. How do you think that these organizations learn about like people, or no, things that they cannot speak to? Taiwo, please go ahead.
I would say by observation, basically.
Mhm.
So by
Yes,
observing their attitude, their characters, so they can be able to learn how they interact and learn not just by observation.
definitely. Okay, Martha, you had your hand up? Was that what you wanted to say?
Yeah, same thing, like by observing their patterns over
Yeah.
a long period of time.
Exactly. So it's observations for the win. I had to put surveys in this like spooky context because, my dear product managers, please, I'm saying this and I love you guys because now when I build the thing, me, I just come and I talk, I say many things and I share reports and I send you videos. You are the ones building the thing, but please, can we, if you are doing 10 surveys in a month, please let's cut it down to like 2. There are so much better ways to go about getting what you need, right? So observations for the win, surveys, please. There are certain instances where surveys, of course, work, but not in this kind of peculiar circumstance. And I think I already explained what the circumstances are where we would be using the jobs to be done framework, right? So here we have a quote from Bill Buxton. He says that the best products are born from a deep empathy with the people who use them. I'm sure all of us know this term empathy with design thinking framework, define, is it empathy, ideas, blah, 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 all that, right? So I'll be breaking down more how we can apply that in the jobs to be done framework. So, okay, I just wanted to mention here, I think I said how surveys, of course, they are to be used in certain instances. So you would use a survey in an instance where you want to understand people's attitudes. So things like, oh, how do you feel about XYZ, or things where it's the attitude or the perception that the person has, like what they're thinking is what you want to know, as opposed to what they actually do. What they actually do, you would have to observe. If you ask somebody that is probably like a madman, to ask him, Oga, are you okay? You will say, are you now you decrease? I am very okay. But if you observe him, you will see that now, guys, you are definitely not okay, right? So, and that's kind of like to explain that distinction. So by observing customers, like looking at their patterns, just like Martha said, you are able to figure out what they need before they even do. And there's this quote from Steve Jobs that says, some people say, give customers what they want, but that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they are going to want before they do. Now, the best predictor of future behavior, like they say, is the past. So I hope that convinces you and does not confuse you. Now, I have to put this guy here. No be you go tell customer how to use your products. You will be sleeping, you go hear unwa. You say, did I just hear unwa? The one you did not expect is what the customers will be doing. And I see this a lot. Like, I'm always on Twitter, even if I don't tweet a lot, right? Somebody you see a lot of product managers saying that they created a feature or something. Customer has turned it upside down and using it in a different way. No be you go tell them how to use your products. So the customers will really tell you how to use your products. Did I say a question? Yeah. Customers will really tell you how to use your products. And just to like get some interactivity here, has there been a time where you discovered that a customer was using your product in a way that it was not intended, right? And how did you handle that circumstance? Maybe one or two people could go.
Me, pick me.
Okay, Princess, please.
Thank you. So, in one of the companies I worked, we noticed that customers were using their accounts as a savings account,
Okay.
and it was not a savings product. We
Okay.
didn't give them any interest. But listening to customers, they just wanted to. So, Nigerians have that culture where you don't want to see the money, But because you don't want to put it maybe in a place like Piggyverse, because you already have the idea that if I put it in Piggyverse, I don't know if I can remove it. So you just put it in one bank account like that.
Mhm.
See that a lot of customers were using our accounts for that. Then we're like, oh, really? We didn't know that you people liked us like that, or even trusted us to be putting your money that you don't want to see. You know, when
Mhm.
it's, oh, I don't want to see this money again. So we just realized that a lot of customers were doing that. And we're
Mhm.
like, we're not moving the money out. Like, you're just keeping money here. You just keep deposit. And you know, a business, move the money. And then we now found out that, oh, these people were actually saving. And then we started ideating around a savings product to see if we could encourage people to save more with us and of course get interest back. So yeah, that's one I can remember.
Oh, awesome. Does anyone else want to contribute? Okay, so I really like, based on what Princess said, I really like the approach that you guys took, and that, I think, to me, is the valid way to go. If you find out that your customers are using a product in a way that you didn't intend, it's not for you to go and say, oh, email to customers, please do not do this. Figure out how you can get value from, or create more value for the customers, and also as an organization get more value, like you make money, right? So if you're able to figure out that, oh, they're using your product in a way that wasn't intended, can you improve your product or create a product that meets the need of the customer that they're trying to satisfy, right? And then also, you as an organization can make, if it's profit you're after or more users, the value that you want. So in essence, you're going to be comparing what they are doing with what they're saying. So I just want us to leave with this. I'm not saying that you should never listen to your customers, or that every customer is a mad person, but you have to listen. So how do you even know somebody is mad? You look, and you probably are also listening to whatever, maybe it's dramatizing some things. So you would observe, and you would, be looking at what they, and be listening to what they're saying. So there are, of course, instances where what they say they want would, if you create that value that they say they want, you would actually meet the underlying need. But you need to compare both. So you need to see, how are the customers currently solving this problem? Just like how Princess said, they put the money in a separate account from, wherever other account they're transacting from. What workarounds are they using to meet the need that they have? And are there any things that surprise you about how they navigate through the problems to find a solution? Like Princess said, she was surprised to hear they just want to not see the money, right? So in that case, how are customers using your product to meet that need that they have? So when you do all that, like Princess said, it's a whole ideation. We're able to figure out, okay, how can we take this thing that we've learned they are doing, these surprising things they are doing, these workarounds they are doing, in order to meet their needs, and how can we take that to create something that's of value to them, right? Okay, so let's get into the framework proper. Now, a job is the fundamental problem or goal that a customer is trying to achieve. So like we established, for instance, when you want to sell a product to a customer or market a product, you're not just saying, oh, I have a blue shirt. You're probably going to say, this is the softest shirt you ever sleep in. You're going to have the best night's sleep. If you say, oh, come and buy a blue shirt, they probably already have a blue shirt. But you are selling to them a dream or something that they want to achieve, something that that determines success for them. So again, this is a quote from Jacob Nielsen. Oh, I think this should have come before the slide. Sorry, like I said, midnight doings. But this was talking about how you should observe and pay attention to what users do, not what they say. So observation is the key to unlocking the job. So the job is, the goal that the customer is trying to achieve, and we get to understand the job by observing the customers. Why we shouldn't just ask customers what they want. So I wanted to put this here. I'll just go over it very briefly. First reason why: they cannot articulate the job. They can tell you what they think it is that they will most likely tell you what they think it is that they want you to build. They'll say, oh, I want this, I want that, I need something that does this. What you should be focusing on, so when they say that, is asking, can you tell me more about when it became important for you to need this thing? Can you remember the first time when this need arose? You're trying to get back into the context. So the true job is buried in the context, is buried in that struggle, that thing that wasn't convenient for them that they are trying to meet, as opposed to them just saying, oh, give me a feature that allows me to do X, Y, Z, right? Another reason why we shouldn't just ask them what they want is the circumstance is invisible to them. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it. if you go to a hotel for like a weekend, you'll be like, man, start getting used to that posh environment. When you now get back home, you'll be like, why are my walls not as white as the hotel wall? Why? It's like your AC will not even be cooling the way the hotel AC was cooling. Everything will just be vexing you. But in the moment where you are in your house, before you went to the hotel, your house was probably lovely. It's amazing. The wall is white. When you're not going to see a whiter wall, that's when you know that your wall is not white. So most times, the circumstances they are in are not very visible to them. They are enmeshed in that circumstance. So you that are on the outside, you need to observe, the moments, their circumstance, their context, to be able to figure out how to meet the needs that they have. So the third reason is they don't know what's technically or technologically possible. I mean, I'm not an AI engineer, but I use AI. If they come and ask me, oh, what do you want? I'll probably say AI that does everything for me and I can just go and sleep, right? However, I'm sure if they build that, then I will be out of a job and then I won't be able to afford the AI and then they will lose money as an organization. So they can't build that thing that I said I want them to build for me, right? So I don't know what's technically possible. I will just tell them, oh, I want this, or this. If they know what they're doing, they're going to try and figure out what my underlying needs are and how they can meet them. So the customer's job, they don't know that, oh, if I write this line of code, right, maybe instead of, I think, like the Henry Ford quote, right, that says, if you ask people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, because they didn't know that you could actually create an engine, attach some parts, and then have something that's, driving across the road, or like put an engine, put some wheels, blah, 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 and then something is flying, right? So the customer owns the context, the circumstance. That is where they are. So we have to meet them there by like observing them and documenting their patterns, documenting what they're doing. And then from that, because not me, I don't have the technical know-how, but you product managers and engineers that have the technical know-how, you're able to now figure out, okay, if I can see that this customer is struggling doing this, I know that if I talk to my engineer has probably even mentioned something about how we can do X, Y, Z and join two costs together and something will happen. We can actually solve this thing like this. But if you listen to the customer will just tell you, I want this. But because you have the technical know-how, you're able to say, oh, we'll meet that need that you have, but by doing this, which is even probably a better solution than what they had in mind. So getting into the framework of the job to be done statement, right? So it's this, what will I call it, 3-part statement. Now, the reason why this statement in particular is important is because it helps us frame the needs of the customer in like a succinct way. So the more you are thinking about it in this way, you're able to then ideate. So the framework is just when dash being the circumstance, I want to, achieve something. So the functional need, the motivation, the goal. When I want to do XYZ, I get, this product so that I can XYZ or the other, right? So let's make this more practical. So for instance, when I am late for work and I have no cash, I want to pay for my taxi quickly so I can feel less stressed about being late. So this is probably what if it would lead to a feature in Uber where I don't have to like pay by cash or whatever. I can maybe request a taxi beforehand. I don't have to think about payments, or I can put in a different payment method or whatever, right? So this is one example. I think there was did I not have a task? Oh yeah, I have an activity coming up. So then I wanted to mention the hiring thing, right? So I don't want us to get too fixated on it. I want us to see how we can actually use this framework in a practical way, not just by like sticking to every single thing that it says, right? So customers hire products to solve a problem or make progress in a specific circumstance. So just like we've seen here, the customer would, they're telling this statement tells me that I need, as a customer, when I'm in a circumstance where I'm late, I'm rushed or something, and I don't readily have cash, the need I have is that I need to pay for my taxi quickly so that, whatever the emotional need is, I feel less stressed and I avoid being late, right? So I mentioned here the emotional needs and the functional, and that helps us in framing the job to be done statement in particular. But as that aside, it helps us drill down on the needs of the customers from that statement. So the three layers of the jobs we done framework are the functional layer, where that's the practical task that you want, right? I want to send money, I want to book a ride, I want to, I don't know, I want to purchase an item. The emotional needs are how the user wants to feel. We've already established how the customers are hiring a product to, solve a problem or achieve something in a specific circumstance. So the social layer there is how the customer wants to be perceived. So the when is typically the functional. The I want to is typically the emotional. It's the emotional, and then the final part is typically the social. So when I want to when I'm late for work and I have no cash, I want to pay for my taxi quickly so I can feel less stressed about being late. So all these elements, these layers, they typically help us form the statement and understand the statement. So I would like us to do like a little, we have about 20 minutes left. How much longer do I have? I have, I think, 8 slides left. Emmanuel, about how long do I have? I don't know if I should just skip it.
You have like 20 minutes left, so yeah, just an hour. The session is just an hour.
Okay, sorry. Please 1 second.
Sorry, Walola. So we typically like leave time for questions, maybe like 10, 15 minutes for questions.
Okay. Let me rush through. Let's skip this activity then. Does anyone have any
All right,
questions
thanks.
about the forming the job statement? I don't want us to get too stuck on that though. So I'm going to go into how we can, based on the job statement, how we can derive more, how we can learn more about the needs of the customers. So in forming the statement, right? Like to be able to form the statement, we're observing customers, right? So the statement is not the customer that's going to write the statement, it's you that is going to write the statement based on what you've observed about the customers and if you're also talking to them. Now, like I mentioned, we are hearing from customers, but we want to stay away from just building the thing that the customer says they want. We want to spend our time more on observing the needs behind the ask that the customer made, right? But there are also circumstances where you need to talk to the customer. So we call this a contextual inquiry or like an observational study. Even when you're observing the customer, you are probably going to ask questions. So say you are building a product for, I don't know, a customer that, I don't know, something maybe like a dog walking product or something. In observing, like, okay, how does this person find someone to walk their dog? How does this person plan their schedule in a day so that there's enough time to walk their dog? There are things that will be ambiguous to you or that you will not understand. So you will need to inquire about those things. So that's why I put this here. So when you are inquiring about it, you might be asking, oh, can you tell me what you just did, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to be saying, if I did this, will it help you? No, we're going to be asking them more. Tell me about the time when you did this. Or if you see them when they do something, you're asking, oh, can you tell me about why you did that? So it's typically about trying to understand the reason behind something as opposed to trying to validate an idea that you have in your head, right? So of course, you're also evaluating beyond that moment in time. You're probably also going to see, okay, what workarounds are they using, right? And before maybe this workaround or before the current solution they're using, what made them switch from the previous solution they're using to the current solution? And I'm also going to explain why it is important to understand this switch. And this is by looking at these 4 forces of progress. So in the jobs we do framework, there's something called the 4 forces of progress, and it helps us understand why customers switch or don't switch. I think I mentioned already that when trying to predict customers' future behavior, the past behavior is the best predictor of their future behavior, right? So if we're evaluating why they changed or changed their behavior or changed the products from one product to the other in the past, we're able to see, and then we're also observing and documenting what their needs are. We're able to predict, oh, this is what their needs will be in going forward. This is how we can create a solution that probably helps them fix the circumstance they don't know. Like we said, they are not able to really articulate their circumstance, but we looking in are able to say, oh yeah, your walls are not so white, or we can see that this is a little bit more stressful for you. So by looking at these 4 forces, we're able to understand that behavior. So there's the push force. So I don't want to get too like technical about it, but if by looking at it and me explaining it would, I'm sure it would feel like something you already know. So the push force is, what is that pain? What is that thing that causes dissatisfaction about the current solution they're using? Now, that new solution, so remember we're looking at their past behavior and why they change certain things, right? We're looking at the new solution. What is that thing that they feel they gain? That's the pull. What was appealing about it? And then also looking at the things that they cannot probably describe, but their anxieties. What's that thing that worries you about this new thing, this current solution, or this thing that you're using? Or if it's a product, if you're looking at the future behavior, what are those anxieties they might have about a new feature or solution that's trying to meet their needs? And then the habit is, now this is, I think let me not say most, a lot of product managers understand how getting product managers in Nigeria, or let's say in Africa, where this might be the first digital solution of its kind that a customer is using, getting them to switch or change their behavior is very, very hard. So things like, if you're working in insurance, getting someone who has never paid for insurance in their life, doesn't understand it. In fact, things that if I'm paying for insurance, that means I'm accepting that I'm going to die tomorrow, right? How do you change that habit of behavior? So analyzing these forces will help us understand how we can get a customer who may have switched from one product in the past to another, or has changed their behavior in the past or to another. How can we figure out what the next step will look like for them through this product that we could, or solution that we could create based on the needs they have? So Anthony Ulrich is actually the pioneer of this framework. And this is one statement I thought would be very valuable here. He says that most companies are great at creating products, but they just aren't that great at creating the right product. So we probably all have the technical or technological know-how. We have the technology, we have fantastic engineers, but it's almost like, okay, all these things that we're building, our customers are not adopting them. How do we make sure that we're actually doing the right thing? And that brings me to this activity that I think will make all this more practical. So this is an everyday product we all know, like an average plastic water bottle, right? Can I ask people to drop in the comments, like very quickly, 5 features that you think a water bottle should have? So if I am the product manager, if I'm creating a water bottle, what are 5 things my water bottle should have? And I know that I've created a water bottle. Could we have that quickly in the chat? Let me drop my own soon. Okay, I like this. Grip, easy to hold, bottle label, a lid, great holdability, a lid, liter, okay, straw, good grip, clear so I can see and trust the contents, water, bottle cap label, easy to clean straw. I like that. A good size, good grip, waterproof, open, close, easy fill, retain temperature, wash easily, transparent container. Okay. Easy to open. Now, do you know what's funny about this? This is a rigid bottle cap. It should stress me to open. Easy to open, lightweight, good grip, friction hold, Ghanaian. What do Ghanaians have to do with this? Sustainable bottle. This, to me, this is exactly probably what it sounds like to you when customers send in their feature requests. They're like maybe 20 or more now. Imagine being the product manager of this bottle, you'd be like, my God, where do I even start from? Right? So if you ask, like I said, if you ask what the customers want, or what's that, what do they, NAFDAC number, right? What do they want? You will hear so many things, different sizes for different users, but yeah, so you will hear so many things. And the challenge is, okay, where do you even start from, or what should you prioritize? You probably can't have everything, right? So in identifying the needs, we already established how observation is key to doing this. So what we just did is the functional thinking. That's how users think, right? If they see something, they see your bank app, they see your health tech app, they see your ed tech app, they see your insurance app, they see it, and they're like, okay, I want to be able to pay for this insurance. I don't have this other insurance product has this. Why don't you people have this? I want this, I want that, blah, blah. I would like to be able to compare insurance. Like, they will probably give you an unending list. The more you give, the more you hear, right? Okay. How do you now figure out? I mentioned that jobs to be done framework is very useful in trying to prioritize, like figuring out, okay, what are the most important needs to meet now? a bottle that can fly, exactly. There will probably be some people that say they want a bottle that can fly. Maybe if they're in their office, they want the bottle to fly. Maybe they forgot their home, bottle to fly and come and miss them, right? So let's go beyond this functional thinking. Now let's use this framework in reality. Now, I had to put down this, but basically, because we are not actually going out in the field to observe anybody. But imagine, you've gone out and about, you're carrying out an ad hoc study, and you're like, okay, let me just go out and about and see how people are using their water bottles in general, just walking around Lagos, what's going on, right? And some scenarios strike you and you document them. One of them being, okay, there is a user in a long, hot public bus with no free hands and only a tiny space between their knees, right? Another scenario is, okay, there's the user that is waiting outside their office, maybe waiting for their friend to come pick them up, and the bottle is leaking into like the paperwork that they have in their bag, right? Then there's another scenario where, so basically witchcraft in a bottle, yeah, the flying bottle. Yeah, there's another scenario where the user is, hiking a mountain and they need to like track exactly how much water they have left. Maybe they know that, oh, I'm meant to be drinking XYZ liters or whatever per hour, right? So can we now, based on all these things that we've observed, like try as much as possible to like put yourself in the shoes of any of these people. So just select one scenario. Can we write a job statement for one of these scenarios? So if like 3 or 4 people could write a job statement, remember again, the job statement is meant to help us establish what the needs of the customers are. So when in this circumstance, I want to achieve this, or I'm having this challenge, so that I can, have this emotional need or social need met. So these are the scenarios. So in scenario A, do you guys have this down? So when dash, I want to dash so I can dash. So these are the scenarios. So you can say for scenario A, when I am, I'm on my way home from work and I'm carrying a lot of things, right? I want to be able to open my water bottle without having to touch it with my COVID-19 germified hands, right? So that I don't fall sick. Right? So do you guys understand the activity here? Please put your hand up if you are writing the job statement. If you need me to like go between these 2 slides, let me know so I can do that. Okay, Martha is currently writing the job statement. So for any of these scenarios, so just pick a scenario. So I explain like with scenario A, when I am, commuting home and I'm carrying a lot of stuff in my hands, I want to be able to drink water without touching it with my dirty hands that I've not washed all day so that I don't get sick. Or I want to be able to just drink water without dying of thirst so that I feel hydrated and better about my long ass commute home. So is the job to do statement different from user stories? This is why I didn't want us to get too much into the details of the framework, because yes, jobs we done it's quite similar to a user story, because with the user story as well, there are the goals that the user wants to achieve. However, typically we use user stories as a way to define a feature. From what I understand, right, as a product manager, I use the user story as a way to define what you will be building in the future. But the jobs we done framework focuses on the need of the customer so that you're able to ideate and be more innovative about what the needs of the customers are. Okay, does anyone have their job statement ready? When I'm waiting for my friend to pick me up, let me open this. When I'm waiting for my friend to pick me up, I want to have clean drinking water in a water bottle that's not too heavy, sturdy, and not leaking, so that my hands are not weighed down with an extra load and my documents are safe. When I have a sweaty palm, I want to be able to hold or grip my bottle so it doesn't slip or fall. Okay. Yeah, is there any others? Please ask me why somebody is huddling me from work at this time of the night. It's gone that I need. So now with distribution with the bill now. Is there anyone else writing just without statements? When I'm taking a hike on a mountain, I want to be able to track how much water I have left. Okay. So that one thing I'll say is missing from Adewoyin is so that what? So that I don't exhaust my water quickly, so that the person calling you has a job to be, I swear that the real job to be done there. Okay, so the so that helps you capture what is the underlying need that the customer has, so that you have that in mind when building the feature. This statement as written is that when it doesn't help me connect to the emotional or social needs of the customer, I am able to see that, okay, yes, they want to be able to track how much water they have left. But say, for instance, I want to sell this product to them now. Am I just saying, oh, I don't know what the thing they're trying to achieve there is. So remember again, the observation, the goal of the observation and the asking questions, the inquiry you do in the observation is trying to understand the underlying needs of the customer, so that you're able to even predict their next behavior, so that I do not get dehydrated. Fantastic. So hydration is important to this person. When I'm hiking, I want to be able to see the amount of water in the bottle so that I can ration it. Fantastic. Okay, so following this, I think we've done a great job in utilizing the job statement. I would like us to now, so this is an example. So when I am in a cramped public transport with all my bags, I want to drink water using only one hand without spilling, so I can stay hydrated without inconveniencing the passenger next to me. That's for the first scenario here, right? So we saw someone in a bus who didn't have his hands free and only a tiny space between their knees, right? So yes, they probably put the water bottle between their knees, right? So if I'm able to understand from the needs of that customer that, okay, I'm in a cramped space, I commute to work every day, I want to be able to drink water. I don't want to start fighting with my neighbor next to me because all of us are like tightly squished together, right? I don't need to have two hands, one hand holding the bottle, the other hand twisting the cap. In that instance, a straw is valuable to me, right? And this one-handed grip handle, or a bottle where I can just put it in my mouth and suck out the water from it, or it pours into my mouth directly. So we went from this ordinary plastic bottle to this. Now, one thing I would like us to leave here with is there are probably quite a number of jobs that would determine what one feature might look like, or one need. There are quite a number of jobs that might be behind one customer need. So in observing one person and trying to get into their mental state, there are probably quite a number of job statements that you could write, right? So I want us to leave, because when you're building a feature, you're not just looking at it from one perspective, right? When you're building anything, you're not looking at it from one perspective. You're probably thinking, what happens when it fails? What happens when this circumstance happens? So it's the same thing here. So you probably have a couple of jobs, and all of those things feed into one idea or feature. So I just want us to leave with this takeaway that jobs using this framework is a way to help you ideate, innovate, prioritize, focus, right, on the customer's desired outcome rather than what the product should look like itself. Because you focus on the product, you're not able to see beyond, okay, should we add this or that, remove this or that, without having the context. But if you focus on the needs of the customers, the observation of the circumstance of the customer, the struggle that the customer is facing, you have a more well-rounded view where you're able to say, yes, even though the customer has said, giving me like 10 requests, oh, it is my time up, please go ahead. Even the customers are giving me like 10 requests, where do I start from? Yeah, please go ahead. Whose hand is up? I think it's a name that started with K. Okay, so we've come to the end of the presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for your time. I know it's quite complex to share my slides, and there are a lot of resources out there.
Thank you so much, Deola. So please, we just have a few minutes left. If you have any questions, the floor is open. Now you can raise your hand, or you can just type out your comments and your question in the comment box.
So I'm waiting for questions. I know that I kind of sped through the layers, but do you understand how understanding these layers help us put together the statement? So I want to do XYZ so that XYZ, do you understand how understanding these help you formulate the statement and then be able to ideate on that? 100%. Okay, fantastic. No questions at all. I feel like that means you guys didn't understand anything, or you people are just so brilliant. Any questions at all? Okay, no questions. Okay, do we want to talk about any, yeah, brilliant, of course. Do we want to talk about any circumstances that anyone is facing right now that they are considering applying the jobs to be done framework? And let's talk about it and see maybe if we need to tweak one thing or the other. Okay, Bridget, please go ahead.
Yeah, Iwanola, thank you so much for that presentation. Right. So while you were speaking, I had like a question in my head, right? So when you showed the water bottle where you asked, how can this be better? And we had so many, requests. This is something that typically kind of like happen because as much as we're doing like customer, customer research or feature discovery, we also pay attention to like feature requests from our users because sometimes users have feature requests. So if we have like a buckload of feature requests, how do we apply the jobs to be done with the feature requests?
Okay.
Should we now like schedule calls because there are like multiple calls? Not trying to understand where the user is coming from, the possible pain points, or do we start, assuming should this might be the reason why the user is asking for this particular feature?
Yeah. So that's a fantastic point. And I think one of the reasons why you're asking that question is nobody has unlimited resources. Everybody has to prioritize. Maybe you have 2 engineers, one of them is sick. The other one is saying, please, I can't do any extra work right now. Just let me make sure that everything is up and running smoothly, right? And you're like, okay, we have this backlog of requests. We need to prioritize a couple of them. So the next step I would take is identifying specific customers. So if it's the customers who reached out to me, depends on the kind of product that you have. So for B2B products, I think it might be a little bit easier because if a business is requesting a solution, they might be open to you coming to, if it's a manufacturing plant or factory or whatever, right? And observing them. So you're scheduling some time with them to come to wherever it is that is the context of, the needs that they have, right? So say they have a product that they use, or if it's like I don't know, let's say it's a health tech product, right? And you're building it for a hospital. So going to the hospital and, scheduling time with them and saying, okay, can we have some time where we can come in and, we won't obstruct anything. We're going to just observe the current processes and how you guys currently solve this. We know that you asked for this feature, but we want to make sure that we deliver this feature, the way you want to, that the way perfectly. And so we're coming to spend time with you. We're just going to observe. I mean, healthcare might be a tricky one because of like the doctors might not want to, you won't be able to sit in the rooms with customers. No, what they call the customers of doctors, patients. You won't be able to sit in the room with patients, right? But maybe it's a problem where, I don't know, a process problem, like the tool that they use internally. So you can probably sit in their admin room, look at what's happening. Maybe when the patients are coming to fight with them, blah, blah, blah. So you basically schedule some discovery. So in that, you're going with a plan. Your plan is you're going to just be as unobstructive as possible. You're just going to listen, observe, note down things. And you're noting down, okay, so maybe in a day, they have like 10 customers that come to the admin office screaming about the same thing. And this is probably why they need this feature, right? You probably might end up building the feature, but you probably would even build it better than they needed because you observe 1 or 2 things that you realize that, oh, they didn't even mention this in their feature request, or actually I can even do it better. Maybe they said, oh, I want it to a case where maybe when I send an email, I want to get a response immediately. Maybe what you actually build is when they send email, there's a tick and they're like, oh, okay, it's gone through and it's been accepted. Meanwhile, maybe they ask for just a return mail that lets them know that it's been acceptable. Maybe when they just press enter, it validates some things in like a database somewhere and it just ticks and you've done it even better than they requested. So you've met the need that they have. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Okay, is anyone else thinking of how they might be using this jobs to be done framework? So again, we talked about setting up situations where the framework might be more useful. So you're trying to build a new product, something that's new for your organization, or enter a new market, and you're like, okay, we don't really understand the needs of the people here. This is like the perfect use case for jobs to be done, because everything is brand new to you. Everything you observe is brand new to you. You're learning so much about the users and their needs. Prioritizing features, just like the circumstance Bree mentioned. Are there any circumstances that anyone is currently facing right now, and they're considering using the jobs to be done framework, so we can talk about it? So when you have money, you just collected money from investors, and you're like, no, we want to build the best product ever. These are under circumstance. And then, of course, in marketing and product messaging as well. Okay, I guess there are no additional questions, so I will take my leave.
All right.
Thanks
So,
so much.
yeah, so thank you so much, Iwalula. That was really an insightful session, and we just want to say thank you for breaking down to this topic in a very practical and readable way. And I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined, engaged. Your energy has been really great towards making this Pillar Lab session even more engaging. And if you found this section very valuable, you can follow Iwalula on LinkedIn. I don't know if you can put in your LinkedIn link, but you can just type Iwalula Shobowale on LinkedIn. You can check out, connect with our follow. And the slides for this presentation will be shared with you guys in the course of the week or so. We draw the curtain, and do have a wonderful evening. And thanks again. Thanks once again, Iwalula. Really appreciate you.
All right, thank you so much, Emmanuel. So I just wanted to say she put the slide in the chat. So if you want the slide ASAP, please check the chat and get access to the slide. We'll also share on Slack when we're sharing the recording, when we upload on YouTube. But if you want the slides immediately,